Good evening everyone, my name is Maricris Hipiga and for today's discussion, we will tackle about the Strait of Malacca and Indochina complex trade. The Strait of Malacca. So what is the Strait of Malacca? So just take a look to the picture. Here's the map of where Strait of Malacca is located at. The Strait of Malacca is one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. As you can see in the map, the Strait of Malacca is a waterway connecting the Andaman Sea or the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea or the Pacific Ocean. It runs between the Indonesian island of Sumatra to the west and peninsular Malaysia and stream southern Thailand to the east and has an area of about 25,000 square miles or 65,000 square kilometers. The Malacca Strait, which connects Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, has long been a major trading route into and out of Asia, and it is regaining prominence. This has been in a continuous use since antiquity, with Roman, Greek, Chinese, and Indian traders all taking advantage of this natural river. Strait of Malacca is now the world's second busiest waterway from the 15th century to the present. Its strategic importance has made it a center of international strife. The Strait of Malacca is one of the world's most important shipping lanes, both economically and strategically. The strait links major Asian economies such as India, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines, China, Japan, Taiwan, and the South Korea. It is also the largest channel between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The Strait of Malacca is a part of the Maritime Silk Road, which runs from the Chinese coast to the southern tip of the India to Mombasa, then through the Red Sea to the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, then to the upper Atlantic region to Trieste, the northern Italian hub with rail links to the Central Europe and the North Sea. What is Maritime Silk Road? The Maritime Silk Road or the Maritime Silk Road is the maritime section of the historic Silk Road that connected China, Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent, Arabian Peninsula, Somalia, Egypt, and Europe. The Maritime Silk Road or MSR is the Sea Road, part of the Belt and the Road Initiative, which is a Chinese strategic initiative to increase investment and foster collaboration across the historic Silk Road. The Maritime Silk Road, which is also referred to as the Maritime Silk Road, was the first official international sea trading route in the Chinese. The Suez Canal's opening in 1869 only added to the strait's importance as it became a crucial connection between the Pacific and Indian Oceans, cutting the gap between Europe and the Far East in half. This image is presented on where Suez Canal is located at. So what is Suez Canal? So the Suez Canal is an artificial sea level water in Egypt, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea through the Isthmus of Suez and dividing Africa and Asia. The canal is a part of the Silk Road that connects Europe with Asia. Malacca's economic importance to Asia and the broader global economy will rise as the regions of economies develop. In 2011, approximately 15.2 million barrels of oil were extracted every day and passed through the Strait of Malacca, the shortest sea route between African and Persian Gulf suppliers and Asian markets. This is approximately 19 times the volume that passed through the Panama Canal over the same time span, and 4 times the volume that passed through the Suez Canal. Every year, over 94,000 vessels travel through the strait, making it the world's busiest strait, transporting up to 25% of the world's traded goods, including the crude, Chinese manufactured goods, coal, palm oil, and Indonesian coffee. The Straits carries about the quarter of all oil transported by sea, mostly from the Persian Gulf, suppliers to Asian markets. The Strait carried an estimated 13.7 million barrels per day in 2007, rising to an estimated 15.2 million barrels per day in 2011. Furthermore, when it comes to military matters, the Strait of Malacca plays a vital role. The Chinese military's progress has focused on their forces' ability to participate in all anti-access of area denial operations. An anti-access area denial strategy is based on the premise that while a state cannot defeat the US in a traditional war, it can invest in less costly alternatives that limits the US ability to deploy its advantages. Through the implementation of its air-sea war doctrine, the US has developed a way of thinking about how to fight this form of strategy. The Strait of Malacca are important for global trade and regional cooperation advancement. The strait is vulnerable to social, political, and natural disasters, but it also offers great economic and social growth opportunities. The Straits of Malacca are crucial to the flow of global trade and strategically and commercially significant for several reasons. It is the shortest sea route between the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, and over one-third shorter than the closest alternative sea-based route. Piracy has been a long-standing issue in the Strait of Malacca. Accounts of piracy in the region can be traced back to the 14th century. It was not until the late 1990s that the issue came to the attention of international community. This was for two reasons. First, the 1997 Asian financial crisis ravaged the region and forced many people living in the coastal areas in Indonesia and Malaysia to turn to piracy. Second, several high-profile pirate attacks took place in the region. Among them, the hijacking of the Petro Ranger in 1998 when en route from Singapore to Ho Chi Minh, which likely led to increased reporting by shippers in the region. In the early 2000s, piracy in the Straits of Malacca accounted for around 40% of piracy worldwide. The Indochina Conflict Strait. So here's the map of the Indochina. In the pre-modern era, significant parts of the region that would later become French Indochina belonged to what was known as Greater India. The kingdoms that belonged to Greater India and eventually overlapped with what would become French Indochina were Funan and its successor Chinla, Champa, and the Khmer Empire. So what is Indochina? Indochina, also called until 1950 by the French Indochina or French Indochine franchise, the three countries of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia formerly associated with France, first with its empire and later within the French Union. The term Indochina refers to intermingling of Indian and Chinese influence in the culture of the region. It was originally Indo-China. It was a geographical term originating in the early 19th century and referring to the continental portion of the region now known as the Southeast Asia. The name refers to the land historically within the cultural influence of India and China and the physical bound by India in the west and China in the north. It corresponds to the present-day areas of Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Peninsular Malaysia. The term was later adopted as the name of the French colony of today's Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. The origin of the name Indochina are usually attributed jointly to the Danish-French geographer Conrad Malte-Brun, who referred to the areas of Indochina in 1804, and the Scottish linguist John Leyden, who used the term Indo-Chinese to describe the area's inhabitants and their languages in 1808. As the French established the colony of the French Indochina, use of the term became restricted to the French colony, and today, the area is usually referred to as mainland Southeast Asia. The Greater India. Greater India means a term mostly commonly used to encompass the historical and geographic content of all political entities of the Indian subcontinent and beyond. To varying degrees, these entities were transformed by the acceptance and inductions of cultural and institutional elements of free Islamic India. Cochinchina. So what is Cochinchina? The Cochinchina was the only region of French Indochina with direct rule, but the difference between direct and indirect rule were purely theoretical, and political interference was equally intrusive across the entire area. An 1858 to 1862 military campaign fought between the French and Spanish on one side and the Vietnamese on the other. The Cochinchina Campaign. The Cochinchina Campaign began as the limited punitive campaign and ended as a French war of conquest. The war concluded with the establishment of the French colony of Cochinchina, a development that inaugurated nearly a century of French colonial dominance in Vietnam. French Indochina was designated as a colony d'exploitation, or the colony of economic exploitation, by the French government, but both exploitations and economic development differed significantly across the main regions of the colony. The economic and social policies introduced under the Governor-General Paul Doumer, who arrived in 1897, determined the development of French Indochina. The French Indochina is a grouping of French colonial territories in Southeast Asia consisting of the three Vietnamese regions of Tonkin in the north, Annam in the center, and Cochinchina in south, Cambodia and Laos, with the least Chinese territory of Guangzhou added in 1898.